Hi everyone, this is Dilara, an IR student doing her master's in Istanbul. Today I wanted to share with you a book. Every now and then I'm going back and browsing the pages and underlining some of them and having discussions about it with people around me or in book clubs. And this book specifically I wanted to share the summary of as a video because it is a really impactful book which is packed with information and the explanations of the myths about Israel. The book is by Ilan Pappé and it's called 10 Myths About Israel. Ilan Pappé is an Israeli historian, which you could refer to as a new historian as well. To make it brief for you, as an Israeli historian, after finding out about the new archives in Israel, he realizes that the Israeli narratives were completely made out of myths. This book specifically, I believe, is very impactful in dismantling the myths that one might have as someone who was raised in Turkey, where the Palestinian narrative is much more stronger. And although growing up, my family was a total Palestinian advocate and nothing about Israel was sympathized in the household that I grew up, I realized I also had some of these myths. So if you do consider yourself as a Palestinian advocate, I believe that this book will even impact you because the Israeli narrative is backed by the most powerful. Even a Palestinian advocate might find themselves having sympathy towards any of them. Ilan Pappé's 10 Myths About Israel offers a revisionist view of the myths shaping Israel's self-image and global reputation. Pappé argues that these myths, built through selective history and propaganda, have justified Israel's founding and expansion while erasing Palestinian history and rights. He uses archives, Zionist leaders' statements, and historical analysis to show how Zionism has acted as a settler colonial project rooted in European colonial traditions. Pappé challenges ideas like the empty land myth, the notion of Jews as a people without a land, the mixing of Zionism with Judaism, and the claim that Zionism isn't colonialism. He also critiques the portrayal of Palestinian displacement, the 1967 war, Oslo Accords, Israeli democracy, and the two-state solution. Pappé presents a strong counter-narrative that highlights the ongoing occupation, inequality, and the ethnic cleansing in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The first myth: Palestine was an empty land. Was it really? Zionists claimed that Palestine was empty before the Jewish settlements. This justified colonization by suggesting that no one was displaced. Pappé shows that this was false. By the late 19th century, under Ottoman rule, Palestine had a society of around 500,000 people, mostly Sunni Muslims, Christians, and Jews as minority. Towns like Jaffa, Jerusalem, Haifa, and Nablus were busy centers of trade, culture, and religion. Palestine was never a barren wasteland. It had a rich agriculture and developed communities long before the Zionist immigration. Pappé explains that Zionists aimed not to coexist, but to replace Palestinians, leading to their expulsion during the Nakba of 1948. The second myth is that Jews were a people without a land. And were they actually? Zionists said Jews were a people without a land, destined to return to Palestine. Pappé argues that this idea was fueled by European Christian theology and anti-Semitism. Many Europeans wanted Jews out of Europe and saw Palestine as a solution. Zionist leaders like Theodor Herzl used these dynamics to gain European support. The Balfour Declaration in 1917 was a result. Pappé shows that this narrative served colonial interests and ignored the Palestinians already living there. The third myth: Zionism is Judaism. Is it? Zionism claims to represent all Judaism. Pappé explains that many Jews, including religious groups and intellectuals, opposed Zionism. While Judaism is a faith, Zionism became a political project influenced by European nationalism and colonialism. Zionist leaders used religious texts to justify colonization, but Zionism was not a universal Jewish movement. The fourth myth is Zionism is not colonialism. Pappé strongly argues that Zionism is a form of settler colonialism, similar to other European colonial projects. Zionists aim to control land and resources, often excluding Palestinians. During the British Mandate, Zionist leaders restricted Palestinian land ownership and labeled resistance groups as terrorists. reinforcing colonial domination. The fifth myth: Palestinians left voluntarily in 1948. The Zionists claim that the Palestinians left voluntarily during the Nakba is false. Pappé cites documents showing leaders like Ben-Gurion planned forced transfers, planned Dalit authorized military expulsions and massacres like Deir Yassin. Legal policies like the absentee property law prevented refugees from returning. Calling this voluntary hides the truth of ethnic cleansing. The sixth myth: the 1967 war was a war of no choice. Israel says the 1967 war was self-defense. Pappé argues that the plans for expulsion already existed. The war allowed Israel to occupy the West Bank, Gaza, Golan Heights, and Sinai. Palestinians were denied citizenship, leaving them stateless under Israeli control. The seventh myth: Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel calls itself a democracy, but Pappé shows the discrimination that the Palestinians face. Jewish immigrants get citizenship automatically, while Palestinian refugees cannot even return. Inside Israel and the occupied territories, Palestinians face land confiscations, arrests, and violence, contradicting democratic values and revealing apartheid policies. Myth number 8: the Oslo mythologies. Pappé sees the Oslo Accords not as peace, but as a way to control Palestinians. During the Accords, key issues like the State of Jerusalem and the refugees were delayed. Palestinians were made responsible for security while Israel kept control. Oslo deeps Palestinian suffering instead of solving the conflict. Number 9. Gaza mythologies. Israel blames Hamas for Gaza's situation. Pappé explains that while Hamas is militant, it also provides social services. Israel's 2005 Gaza withdrawal was not peace, but a tactic to strengthen control elsewhere while appearing peaceful. Number 10. The two-state solution is the only path. Pappé calls the two-state solution a dead idea, kept alive for political reasons. It offers Palestinians a weak and divided state. Israel often uses accusations of anti-Semitism to silence criticism of its actions. Critiques say Pappé ignores Jewish suffering, while Pappé is Jewish himself. I believe his work is necessary to acknowledge the Palestinian suffering and shift in the narrative. Without brave historians from Israel like Pappé, these issues might have remained hidden. I'd like to conclude with saying that this book is useful for both beginners and scholars. This book offers a clear and brave challenge to the dominant narratives. His careful use of archives and statements exposes how myths have justified colonialism, ethnic cleansing, and the erasure of the Palestinian identity. The book also shows how Western powers have supported these myths, making this book an important work in debates on history and decolonization. That was it for my book review. I hope you benefited from it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.